Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your workouts, your nutritional plan, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM them to me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Okay, Nick, I know you recommend using bone broth. However, it's so time consuming to make. Do you have any suggestions or alternative solutions? Well, not alternative solutions because I recommend bone broth. So there's not really an alternative solution to taking bone broth. I like bone broth because it's rich in minerals. It's great for bone support. And I find when I take bone broth personally myself, I find it really helps with my digestive tract. Okay, I've been taking bone broth now for probably about 2 years, and I've noticed a huge difference with the way that my body digests food. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of using bone broth. There's also numerous other benefits, but those are the three main benefits that why I recommend to clients to take bone broth. Now, with that said, it can be time consuming if you are making your own bone broth, and it can be quite expensive if you're going out and you're buying your own bone broth. So what I actually use, I use a bone broth powder. You can pick it up on Amazon. I'll put a link below in the description. And I use a brand I think the brand I'm using is Organica. I think that's the brand I'm using, but I've been using that brand for about a year and a half. And it's really simple. I take 2 scoops of the powder, throw it into some boiling water, mix it up, down it. I usually do that how I start my day. So even before I have my morning coffee, I'll do it first thing in the morning when I wake up. And occasionally I'll even do some right before I go to bed as well. But I find that makes it really easy to consume. It's practical, it's cost effective, it's actually not that expensive. A little tub of it costs about $40, and that usually lasts me for about a month. So $40 a month is pretty good. So that's what I recommend. If you're short on time and you don't want to make your own bone broth, I'd recommend picking up the powdered bone broth. Organica, I believe, is the brand that I use, and you can pick it up on Amazon. As I said, I'll put it in a link in the description below, so you can purchase that. And it has all the benefits of regular liquid bone broth, so it's just in powdered form. So that's what I'd recommend doing if you're short on time. It's also cost effective if you're working with the budget. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Do you ever recommend supplementing with collagen to your clients? Yes, I do actually. Actually, I use collagen myself. I find it really helps with a few things. One thing I've noticed as I've been using collagen now for close to a year. And what I've noticed is my sleep has been way better since I've been using it, since I've been supplementing with it. Another thing I noticed too is that it does help. Well, this is a bad example because obviously I've got some wrinkles, but I noticed that it has helped with my wrinkles. So I noticed that when I started taking it, I have fewer wrinkles than I did before. I'm well aware that I still have wrinkles, but I notice I have fewer wrinkles now that I'm using the collagen from before. Sorry, my alarm is going off. Another thing that I've noticed with using collagen is my recovery time in the gym. I didn't even think this would be a side effect from it, but I've noticed that I'm able to recover from my workouts much more quickly while using it. And it definitely helps with my joints. I mean, that's one thing that collagen's known to do, is it's supposed to help with your joint, your muscle tissues, your joint repair, skin, obviously, all that stuff. So I do recommend it to clients. I don't say it's a necessity though. It's like I don't put it up there with the vitamin C and the vitamin D and the omega-3 that I believe are supplements that we should be taking on a daily basis. But if someone can fit it in their budget, absolutely, I think it has its benefits. Again, that's something you can take in pill format, but I like taking it in powder format. And actually, I believe it's still from Organica. I still take that same brand for my collagen as well. So do I find it to be beneficial? Absolutely. Do I recommend it to clients? I do. But again, if someone's working with a budget, I don't think it's necessary. I think it's definitely an advantage to have to your supplement stack, though. So if you can budget for it, again, if you find a good product on Amazon, again, if you're using the Organica brand, I believe it's about $40 for about a 1 month supply. So yeah, add that in with the bone broth and see and give it some time. One thing too, when you're taking this stuff too, don't expect miracles overnight. I always tell clients when they're taking a product, give it at least a good 8 to 12 weeks, and then see if you notice any results. If you don't, okay, try something else. But I always find I like to give something a little bit of time and see, okay, am I getting any benefit out of this? Is this primary placebo? What am I noticing? And what I'll typically do when I'm taking a supplement is I'll take it for a week on, and then I'll take it for a few days off, and then I'll go for 2 weeks on, and I'll take it for a few more days off, and I'll see if I notice anything from the times that I'm taking the supplement versus the time that I'm not. But that's really the best way to find out if something's really working for you, and of course, if you notice results yourself. So, do I think it's necessary? No, but do I recommend it? Yeah, of course. If you can add it into your supplement stack, by all means, I think it's great. All right, next question. Hi Nick, how many times do you eat in one day, and how has your own diet changed now from when you used to compete? So these days I eat mostly about 6 to 7 meals a day, and I mean 6 like solid meals, not protein shakes. I don't do protein shakes. When I used to compete, I would eat up to 10 to 12 times a day, but that also included protein shakes. Back then, I would probably do at least 2 protein shakes a day, but they were meal supplement shakes because I would usually use some waxy maize carbohydrate powder that I throw into those shakes as well. So when I used to compete, I was obviously eating a lot more food. I needed more food. My training sessions, I don't want to say they were more intense, but they were definitely a little bit longer, higher volume, as opposed to now. My workouts now are shorter. I've talked about this before. They're no longer than 45 minutes. I never spend longer than 45 minutes in the gym when doing my own workouts. I don't lift as heavy as I used to lift. I mean, I'm older now. I don't feel I need to lift as heavier, but my workouts are still intense. If actually, I feel my workouts are even more intense now. Even though the weights are lower, I still find that, my rest periods are shorter, and my range of motion is greater. I just feel like overall, my own workouts are much more intense now than they were when I used to compete, which is kind of funny, right? Because they should have been more intense when I used to compete. But back to the nutrition component, yeah, when I would eat back then, I mean, I'm eating the same foods now that I eat back then, just in smaller portions. So when I used to compete, one meal would consist of maybe 2 cups of brown rice and 12-ounce chicken breast. Now I get about 6 ounces of chicken breast and maybe 1 cup of rice. So I've pretty much taken those meals and I've cut them in half. Same thing. So the meals pretty much remain the same. I don't eat red meat. So a lot of my meals will consist of chicken breast, lean ground turkey, salmon, cod. For my protein sources, egg whites, and then for my carbohydrates, I'll use things like quinoa, yams, sweet potatoes, brown rice, oatmeal, cream of rice. So the meals haven't, the types of foods haven't really changed, but the portion sizes have changed. I don't need to consume as much food now. I have a different purpose. I'm no longer training for the stage. I'm now training for overall health and well-being. I still want to look good, but more importantly, I want to feel good. So that's why I try to fuel my body with the proper nutrients and vitamins and minerals that I need to get through my day. So yeah, I mean, that's all changed really, is just the portion sizes and obviously the meal frequency. When I used to compete, I used to eat every 2-3 hours. Now I'll eat maybe every 4 to 5 hours. Sometimes I'll throw 2 meals into 1 hour if I'm backed up with clients all day. I've done that before. But I would say I get about 6, sometimes 7 meals if I'm lucky, but 6 to 7 meals a day. If I were to ballpark my overall caloric intake on a daily basis, I would say I'm probably around 5,000 calories a day right now. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I read your blog about your vasectomy. How long did you have to wait before lifting weights again? I'm actually still waiting as we speak. So I had my vasectomy last Tuesday, and as I'm doing this Q&A, it's Thursday, September 15th, I believe. So it's been just over a week. I was advised from my surgeon not to lift weights for at least 1 week, a minimum of 1 week, and to really, really go light when I return to the gym. Now, luckily for me, I had planned my vasectomy right before my brother's wedding. So I thought, okay, this is perfect timing because I'm going to be away from the gym anyway. My brother got married in Thetford Mines, is a place up in Quebec, which is a very rural town. There's no access to any gyms up there or any gyms that I could find. So I thought, okay, well, I'll be at a wedding for a few days. I'll be busy. I'll be helping him set up for the wedding. So I'm not going to have time to lift weights anyway. So I'll get the vasectomy before I go to the wedding, which I did. So I got the vasectomy on Tuesday, flew out to Montreal on Thursday, helped with the setup, attended my brother's wedding, and flew back to Vancouver Monday evening. I thought I could go back and start training yesterday, so Wednesday, and I tried to do a chest workout, and it just didn't feel right. You know, I felt like there was a lot of pressure down there still in that area, and didn't feel right. I got through the workout, but then I realized, you know, I'm going to give myself an extra few days. So this really comes down to listening to your body. Yeah, I mean, my surgeon said I could probably return to the gym and start lifting weights again in 7 days, but I also know the type of workouts I do are more intense than the average person who's going to the gym. So my mentality is, why go half-assed? I like to go all out. So I'd rather wait, let my body recover, fully recover, and then I can go back to the gym and hit it 100%. So I have no timeline as to when I'm going to return. I'm thinking probably by next Wednesday. So I give my body at least 2 weeks of no weightlifting whatsoever. Obviously, I'm still spotting clients in the gym. I'm still doing setups. I'm still demonstrating exercises, but I always do that with lightweight. So that's fine. But as far as my own workouts, I'm thinking giving myself at least a full 2 weeks to fully recover, so I can just go back and hit the weights hard. Because I'm not the type of person that's going to go in and do a half-ass workout. That's not going to happen. I feel, you know, that saying, what is that saying? They say any workout's better than no workout, or a bad workout's better than no workout. And I disagree with that. I feel, what's the point of going to the gym if it's going to be a bad workout? So I'll go back when I feel fully recovered, which I'm thinking is going to be, for me, probably about 2 weeks. And then I'll be good to go. When I had my appendix taken out, they told me I wasn't allowed to return to weightlifting for 8 weeks. And I returned after 4 weeks, and I was fine. So who knows, maybe I'll recover by tomorrow and feel great. But judging by the workout I did yesterday, it didn't feel like it was the right time to return to the gym just yet. My body just felt aggravated. So I thought, you know what, give it a few more days, listen to your body, and get back to it next week. Next question. Hi, Nick. I've been experiencing lots of pain in my neck whenever I train with heavier weights. I'm wondering if this is a common issue and if there's anything I can do to stop it from happening. For me to answer that question accurately, I'd have to see your form in the gym, what you're doing. I'd have to really assess your form and technique. Now, what you can do though is you can always record certain exercises and movements you're doing, and you can send them to me, and I'll give you my critique, and I'll assess your actual form, and I'll tell you where you're making right moves and wrong moves. But overall, what I've noticed with a lot of people when it comes to strain in the neck erectors and the neck flexors, a lot of times it's because they don't have what I call a smooth neck. So what I mean by that is, whenever you're doing an exercise, if you tilt your head up, you get a little bit of a wrinkle in your neck. That should never happen. There should be no exercise on this planet that you're doing that requires you to have a wrinkle in your neck. So what I always advise my clients to do when they're doing certain exercises, let's say a bent over barbell row. So you're bending over and you're actually going to row the bar right into your rib cage. Well, at that point, if I'm looking up, I've got that wrinkle in my neck again, right? But if I'm looking down, now I'm taking strain off my neck erectors. Same thing if I'm doing, let's say, a seated row. I don't have head support on a seated row, but I need to keep my body at 90 degrees. If I'm looking up, or if I'm lifting my shoulders up, if I'm elevating my traps, I'm putting a lot of pressure on my neck flexors and neck erectors. So be very careful when you're doing certain movements, especially movements like rows, pull downs, even presses. I see a lot of people when they're doing these movements, they tend to elevate their shoulders. So you got to remember to keep your shoulders down, retracted, and depressed. And remember, smooth neck. So think of every time you're doing an exercise in the gym. Is my neck smooth? Oh, no, wait, I'm tilting my chin too high up. All right, fix it, right? Head straight. Same thing. Be aware of your shoulders. You don't always have a mirror to look at when you're training in the gym. So you have to really be aware of your body and what your body's doing. If you have a training partner, ask your training partner, hey, just watch me. If I start to elevate my shoulders, push them down. I see this a lot of times with clients in the gym when they're doing certain movements in the gym. They start to do this, they tense. And as soon as they start to do that, I come over and I tap their shoulders and I put them back down again. So just be very aware of that. Be very body conscious when you're training in the gym. Sorry, there's an ambulance going on outside. But just be very aware of the shoulders, the traps, and your neck flexors. Okay, that's very important. You never want to put strain in that area. So always think smooth neck, depressed shoulders, retract your rhomboids, and just try to focus on getting that movement down and engaging the muscle bellies that you're working, right? If you're working your back, try to focus mind to muscle connection on your lats. If you're working your chest, try to focus mind to muscle connection on your pecs. So that's what I recommend. And again, if you're still not too sure, take a few videos of yourself in the gym doing certain exercises, send them to me, and I'll give you my critique, and I'll assess your form for you. All right, next question. Nick, do any of your online clients not send you weekly progress photos? I'm a bit self-conscious about my body right now, as I just delivered my son 6 weeks ago, but my coach says it's the only way for him to make accurate changes to the plan. Is if he's the only way, sorry, he makes accurate changes to the plan if he sees how my body is looking from week to week. Okay. So yes, when I work with online clients, I prefer to have them send me weekly photos, weekly progress photos. For women, it's usually just short shorts and a broad top. For guys, it's usually just boxers or briefs, topless. Is it necessary? No, but it's preferred. Okay. And the reason why that is because the weight on the scale doesn't always tell the whole story. Okay. Let's say I'm working with someone and I'm working with them for 3 weeks and they haven't lost a pound. Yet when I see their photos from week to week, I can see that their body is transforming. So it could be for multiple reasons that they're not losing weight on the scale. Maybe they're retaining water. Maybe they're building muscle and losing fat. If it's a woman, it could be because she's on her period. So there's reasons why people tend to hold on to weight on the scale. Yet when you look at their body, it's like, wow, you see the transformation. So if your coach is only going off numbers, it's very hard for him or her to make the call and say, well, should I cut this person's calories more because they're not losing weight? Or should maybe I increase their calories because they're losing weight too quickly? So that's why it does help to have those photos. To answer your question, yes, I've had clients in the past, new clients work with me who are a little bit self-conscious about their body. And I explained to them, like, I understand now, I'm the only person that sees these photos. I don't put their photos up on Instagram or Facebook unless they do and they tag me in it. But I never, ever would ever do that to anybody, regardless of, if they look amazing or not. That's their photos to share, not mine. So I'm the only one that sees those photos. I'm sure your coach has said the same thing. With that said, though, if you don't feel comfortable sending those photos, then you and your coach are going to have to troubleshoot around that. I can tell you right now that it wouldn't stop me from working with someone. It would just make my job a little bit more challenging. And I don't feel the changes and the revisions that I would be making to your plan would be done in the most accurate manner, which I'm assuming your coach probably believes the same thing. So do I think it's necessary? No. But again, telling you from someone who works with hundreds of people online, who has worked with hundreds of people online over the years, it's much more preferred, especially if we don't see you in person. I have some clients that they live across Canada or they live in the US. I don't get to see them on a day-to-day basis like I do with my clients in Vancouver. So the only way for me to make the proper assessments and to actually tailor their program to them is by making those changes directly by looking at their physique, the weight on the scale, how they feel. Are the weights in the gym going up? Are the weights in the gym going down? Their energy levels, their quality of sleep. So all these things come into play whenever you're making a change to a plan, right? The photos, though, definitely help. So no, it's not necessary. I'm sure your coach can troubleshoot and work around it, but it does make our job a lot easier if we can see those progress photos. Okay. Hi, Nick. Do you ever get bothered by people who say personal training is a waste of money? One of my client's sister has been trying to convince him to stop seeing me because she feels people should be able to work out on their own. P.S. Love your last vlog. I love how there's a few trainers on my Instagram who've been sending me these questions. You guys should start your own weekly Q&A. I'll send you some questions. These are great questions, though. Doesn't bother me. No, I mean, people spend their money where they want to spend their money. My beard, I trim my beard myself, but every 2 weeks I go to my barber and he details my beard. A lot of people would say, well, that's a waste of money. I mean, it only takes them 15 minutes to do. But I'm like, right, but I don't feel confident doing it myself. I know he does a better job. So I can afford to do that. I put aside the money to do that. So that to me is actually a service that I'm benefiting from. Again, it's not a necessity, but it's something that I benefit from. So when it comes to personal training, sure, you can go work it on your own. In my opinion, and I'm not trying to be biased here, but in my opinion, when I've gone to commercial gyms and I watch the average person work out, they spend more time on their phone than they do actually working out. I'm not saying everybody, but the average person. So one of the things I can tell you from the people I work with are the trainers that I know who work with clients, the trainers who I think are fantastic trainers, is they don't allow their clients to do that. And their clients wouldn't do that anyway because they're paying for a service. Why would anyone go to the gym, pay a trainer $100, $150 an hour and sit there on their phone? They're not going to do that. They want to get the most out of that hour. A lot of people that I work with have very high, stressful jobs. They have a lot of responsibilities. The last thing they want to be doing is going to a busy gym and planning out a workout. Oh, I can't do this. This is taken. I can't do this. This is taken. Or what am I training again today? It's easier for them just to go to a private training facility, have their workout ready to go, walk through, or not walk through, but go through that workout with the trainer. The trainer has everything already set up, ready to go. The trainer knows your weights. The trainer knows what muscle group you're training that day and has everything in a certain sequence, a sequence that makes sense. So I'm not going to sit here and try to defend as to why someone should hire a personal trainer. I mean, I've talked about that in the past in numerous blogs on Q&As. And listen, at the end of the day, if it's up to you, it's your money, wherever you want to spend your money. For me personally, I feel that there's numerous benefits to working with a qualified and experienced personal trainer versus training on your own. Now, if you can't budget for a personal trainer, well, I understand. Yeah, train on your own, or you can train in a small group class, right? That's a cost-effective solution as well. But it doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't bother you. I mean, at the end of the day, your client's still with you, right? So whatever his sister is saying to him hasn't impacted his decision or his choice to work with you. I know people that I work with that will go and they'll buy a $15,000 suit. People, that's crazy. You can go buy a suit at Moore's or something like that. And not recommend anyone buy a suit at Moore's, but for example, you could, but you know, that level of material that you're using, the quality of material, that suit, it just represents a different image, right? And if I'm working with someone who, let's say, is a high-end criminal defense lawyer or a family lawyer, you know, they want to present themselves in a professional manner, and they're working with a lot of money. They're working with higher end clients. So yeah, they might want to buy that $15,000 suit. I don't see anything wrong with that. So where you put your money is where you put your money, right? It's up to you. It's how you budget, what you feel you get the most value from. As I said, some people would think I'm insane for going to get my beard done every 2 weeks and paying my barber to do it. But for me, that to me is something that I benefit from because I would not be able to do that on my own, right? So don't get mad. Just be happy that your client hasn't left you. Okay. Hi, Nick. Can you recommend a good pre-workout powder? I need something to help wake me up for the gym. Yeah. As I mentioned before, I'm not really using pre-workout powders anymore. I just feel I don't really need them. For me, a cup of coffee works great. But if a cup of coffee is not suffice for you, the pre-workout powder that I usually recommend to my clients is a product called C4. And just remember with pre-workout powders, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're dangerous, but I am going to sit here and tell you that they are loaded with caffeine. So you have to be careful as to how you supplement with them. So good rule of thumb that I recommend to my clients who take pre-workout powders, only take them when you need them. So don't fall into the scope of taking them for every workout. Maybe you have a heavy leg day and you need that extra bit of caffeine in you. Okay, I can see that. You go ahead, take a scoop of pre-workout, but don't fall into that routine of taking it every day. If you're doing, like, say, an arm workout, well, arm workout's not nearly as intense as leg workout. I don't even think when I competed, I used pre-workout for my arm workouts. My arm workouts were intense, but they weren't as intense as, say, a leg or a back workout. So only take it when you need it. The product's called C4. I think it's 200 milligrams per scoop, and that's more than enough. You know, I see people taking 2 or 3 scoops of pre-workout powder. I've seen this many times, especially when I was in commercial gyms, just at the juice bar, people would be taking 2 or 3 scoops. That's way too much. 200 milligrams of caffeine is more than enough for a workout. You don't need more than that. If anything, you could cut that scoop in half. 150, 100 milligrams of caffeine is enough. Give you an idea, 50 milligrams is what's in a grande at Starbucks. So that's like 4 cups of coffee if you're taking 200 milligrams. So you gotta be careful, especially if you have a heart condition. And that's another thing. If you do have a heart condition, don't take pre-workout powders, okay? Find something else. Don't take pre-workout powders. Whatever you do, don't take those energy drinks. Those are complete crap. Last week when I was at my brother's wedding, I was in a situation where I wanted a coffee, but the place I was going to had no, like, it was a gas station, didn't have coffee. All they had were those, what was it? Those monster drinks. So I tried to have like a sugar-free Monster drink. I was wired. There was no calories. There was like 20 calories in the can, but I was wired all day, and then I crashed super hard. So I was wired for, I would say, about 6 to 7 hours, and then I just crashed. So those things are terrible, like really bad. And I felt bad drinking it, but honestly, I needed something for energy, and that was the only thing I could find. So I'd rather you have a pre-workout powder than have one of those energy drinks like Red Bull or the Monster drink I had, because those are loaded with chemicals and just garbage. So good pre-workout powder, C4. If you do not like stimulants and you can't handle stimulants, there are some pre-workout powders out there that are stimulant free. I can't think of one at the top of my head, but there are a few. But if you are looking for that burst of energy, I'm assuming that you are looking for a stimulant. So I would take the C4 because it has quite a bit of caffeine, just one scoop though, and don't take it for every workout. All right, last question. Hi, Nick. I'm thinking about becoming a vegetarian for the next few months. The only problem is that I don't know what I can use for my protein sources besides egg whites and whey protein powder. What do you use for protein if following a plant-based diet? There are tons of options when you are following a plant-based diet where you can get your protein sources in. You mentioned egg whites and whey protein, hopefully whey isolate protein powder. Okay, remember there's a difference between whey protein powder and whey isolate protein powder. Those are two options, right? You mentioned those. But other options, chickpeas, kidney beans, red lentils, black beans, whole wheat pasta. There's lots of options that you can use there. If you're okay with using some not processed, but if you're okay with using some Yves products, Yves have some vegetarian options. I'm not a big fan of all of them, but some of them are pretty good. I would say probably about 30 to 40% of them are good, and the rest are they're a little bit high in either sugar or higher carbs, higher in saturated fats. So you have to be careful with the Yves products. Okay, but there are a few out there that are pretty good, and I put some of them on my clients who are vegetarians and vegans on their nutritional plans. It's not so much that you have to worry about where you're getting your protein sources from. It's you just have to watch what you're combining your protein sources with. And I say this to every vegetarian or vegan that I work with. And right now on my roster, I've been working with about 6 or 7 of them. And I'll say, we have to be very careful what we combine your protein sources. So let's say we're using chickpeas, for example, as a protein source. Well, there's carbohydrates in chickpeas, right? So we have to be careful as to how much, let's say, brown rice we add to that meal, or how much quinoa, or how much yams or sweet potato we add into that meal, because we don't want to have a surplus of carbohydrates, right? Because that's going to lead to fat gain. So that's what you have to watch when you're doing a vegetarian diet. And I've talked about this before as well. It's very crucial that when you're implementing your protein and your carbohydrates and your fats into a meal, that you make sure that you don't have an abundance of one and none of something else. That's why I like to even things out. So if you're doing, let's say you're following a vegetarian diet plan and you're doing something for your protein source that night, let's say you're having the whole wheat pasta. Well, if you're doing a whole wheat pasta, it has a good amount of protein in there, but it also has a good amount of carbs. So in that case, I wouldn't even recommend having any carbohydrate source, right? Your protein is going to be your protein and your carb source in that case. This is where it comes into working with a knowledgeable coach or a dietitian or nutritionist, someone who has experience working with these types of diets, and they can troubleshoot you through the plan, because this is something that a lot of vegetarians and vegans struggle with. Is they go on these diets and then they start adding on unwanted weight. And the reason for that is because there's too much carbohydrates in that type of diet plan. So that's why you have to scale back the carbs by looking directly at, okay, well, if I'm going to have this as my protein source, maybe I should eliminate or lower that direct carbohydrate source. Whereas someone who's a meat eater like myself, if I have a 6-ounce chicken breast, well, okay, there's 25 grams of protein in that, but there's no carbohydrates in that. So I can have that with my cup of rice, right? So I'm fine. I don't have to worry about, oh, should I take out the rice? Well, no, I need to have some carbs in my meal. I like carbs. So that's my carbohydrate source. So that's what you have to watch. It's your combinations, okay? Again, if you're not too sure how to create a plant-based diet plan, you can always join my online app. I have all kinds of nutritional plans that I've designed over the years. Granted, they're not customized, so you're not going to get that same effect that you would if you were working with me one-on-one as your coach, but it's a little bit more cost-effective. It's $49.99 a month to join. All you have to do is email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also email Mia at foreverfitperformance.com, and we'll send you all the information you need to join that online app. If you want to work with me more on a one-on-one coaching basis and have the diet customized for you personally, I do that as well. So there's other options too, right? So that's what I would be careful when you're following a plant-based diet, is just making sure that you're not going into a carbohydrate surplus. But you can still get lots of protein on a plant-based diet, right? You can build muscle on a plant-based diet. I've done it. I know people who've done it. I've trained clients who've done it. So it can be done. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Friday evening. As a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can send me your questions on Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next week.